Hey, Dave. First of all, I just wanted to check. It's just a day off for Muncie.
Just a scheduled day off, and he'll be ready for that Giant series starting tomorrow.
And I'm sure you saw, you got 5 All-Star finalists on your team. Just wanted to get your reaction to having so many of your players recognized as All-Star caliber and, what that means to you as the guy who will be managing that NL team.
It's exciting. I think the one, and I don't know, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is Will Smith. Obviously that's the fans kind of vote, but hopefully the players get it right. I just don't see how he's not one of the top 3 catchers in the National League. So, but outside of that, with our guys, I'm thrilled.
Thanks, Dave.
Next question is from Dave Assay. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave. Along those lines with the All-Stars, the game being played at Coors Field, Kenley has been one of the better closers in the National League. Would there be any hesitation on his part or your part to have him pitch up there for the All-Star game, or is he completely over all of that stuff?
I think we're past that. I know he had that ablation a couple years ago, and he's been since that point going back up there. He's been fine, so I have no hesitation. So I expect him to be on that AL or the NL roster.
Dave, I didn't have a chance to ask you this yesterday, but 2 nights ago, the night that Pollock hit the home run, Lux had that 8-pitch walk, and I saw you make a point to seek him out. What was the message to him, and what do you believe moving forward he can take away from it?
The message was obviously, the homer was big. It was a big play in the game, and I think that players and fans get caught up in plays like that, which are great. But I think for me, just the foundational at-bat quality that Gavin took right there, 8 pitches to take the walk, to pass the baton, is going to make him a considerably better ball player. And I think that's what separates guys from good to great. I thought against Brothers last night, he didn't do that. He swung at a ball down below 3-2. But the more I can encourage him that having good quality at bats and, the more you do that consistently, the better and consistent ball player you're going to be. So I just want to reward him for that and just not let that to be lost on him or anyone.
How do you believe he can get more consistent with those type of at-bats? Have you seen any steps forward other than that one at-bat?
I have seen many steps forward. I think that there's times where Gavin, like most young players, I think he's too aggressive versus right at times. I think he's too passive versus left at times. With 2 strikes, I think, he could at times shift the field, think more left center, which will allow you to stay on balls down below more often. But, he still, as he plays, he's getting more comfortable and that just takes time, and that's just the way it is.
Dave, you had a couple of relievers. I know we talk about how you guys let them be themselves, but do you believe that your faith in those relievers has given them the confidence to apply everything that you guys give them as far as information? How important has your belief in some of these relievers helped them get the outs that you need?
I'd like to think that that's played a part in it. I think from myself to the coaches to the organization, just trusting each one of these guys, and as long as their process is right, there's not always going to be results. And a lot of times with relievers, they're like umpires. When they're good, no one talks about them. When they make mistakes, then that's the talk, and they're the blame. So for me, I just don't buy into that. I support them, and they've been really good for us, and picking up, inherited runners and picking up each other's inherited runners and shortening the game for us. So just couldn't be happier for those guys. Joe's really come to life. It's been fantastic. Can't speak enough about David's impact on the pen. For all those guys and just what Kenley's doing. So it's just collective. It's a really good effort. And we wouldn't be where we're at without those guys.
Next question is from Dylan Hernandez. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dylan.
Between the series in San Diego and then you guys kind of getting no hit there, the way you guys have responded the last couple of days with, pulling out wins late in these games, how much of that, is, I don't know, say during this stretch of division titles here, kind of guys maybe, learning more and more about maybe finding that line, so to speak, between, not panicking but playing with a sense of urgency?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the balance and the challenge. I do think that the ebbs and flows of the season, ups and downs, you have to weather them because you're not going to be, as Mookie said the other night, you're not going to be hot as an offense all year. It's just not making your lows too low and trying to be as consistent. And I think that for us, you can feel after getting swept in San Diego, then you get no hit, and our guys just don't spiral. And we just kind of have a way of kind of regrouping to win a baseball game. And I think that's shown over the last 6 years how we've responded to some adversities. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we're at the top of the division. So I don't see that playing out any different this year either.
Is the feel when you look at the division any different though? I think in previous years, it just felt that you guys were so much better than everybody else that, as long as you guys, nothing cataclysmic happened on your guys' end, that just kind of by the end, maybe the other teams would come back to you, that you guys, like you said, would end up at the top of the division. Does it feel maybe this year that with things being a little bit tighter that, you guys are going to actually have to really kind of pull together and maybe beat these guys as opposed to, maybe them kind of unraveling?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we're planning on beating these guys, and we haven't done a good job with the Padres this year, but we got them plenty more going forward. But part of the major league balanced schedule is playing 162, and so you still got to win those games too. So whatever team's in front of us, we're trying to win all of them.
How much of this is just about health from you guys?
I don't think a lot of it is. I think that's kind of the first look at it, Dylan. We have a lot of good players, and I just think that the players that we plug in on the pitching side or the position player side just got to be good and play good. So it certainly makes us better when you're at full strength, but I just try not to go there. Thank you.
And where is Corey right now? I mean, I see him actually. He's on the field doing some exercises, but in terms of his recovery, where is he?
He's just kind of going through this progression. His body looks amazing. He's moving around really well. The arm, catching of the baseball. So it's just now is just getting this thing to heal up so he can, not have any soreness when he's swinging the bat. And hopefully with the way he is, we can get him back with this as soon as possible. But right now, I just don't have a timeline. I mean, I just want to see him take some live at bats first.
Next question is from Fabiano Daya. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave. Just sort of on that. I mean, with him dealing with that soreness, is there a point where you have to back off and let it rest, or do you just sort of have to keep swinging through that until he feels like there's no soreness?
I think that we've cut back a little bit on the volume, and that's certainly logical, and we followed that.
And I mean, I know you've sort of pointed to early July as sort of where you're hoping he'd be back. I mean, is there any idea just push to the All-Star break at this point, or is that just sort of waiting?
I think anything's possible with this. Our hope was early July. I think Corey would have said the same thing. And now, as each day passes, obviously it takes a little bit long. It's taking a little bit longer. So I just don't know when that could be. Your question, the All-Star break, it's certainly a possibility.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Next question's from JP Hornstra. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, not to look too far ahead, but we've got the Giants for the next two after today. And you mentioned a minute ago that you haven't done as well with San Diego, but you guys have done pretty well against the Giants, unlike the rest of the league. Is there a certain level of confidence that you have now coming into the series against them because you are at full health or closer to it than you were the last time?
I wouldn't say, I feel confident with our guys against any club. I don't think the past series will have any implications on these next two games that we have against those guys. They're playing good baseball. We got to pitch well and play good ball. So, yeah, I mean, it certainly makes our club better to have, Max and Cody back in the lineup. But again, regardless of who we're running out there, we got to play good baseball to beat them.
Next question is from Mike DiGiovanna. Go ahead.
Dave, just checking in. Anything new with Gratterall?
He's pitching regularly in OKC. I think with Brusdar, there's been inconsistencies in performance, execution. So we just want to continue to get him to be consistent. And obviously, we think a lot of him, but I said it about a week to 10 days ago. He's not a finished product. And so I know there's some eagerness for him to get back here, but there's still some fine tuning. It's commanding that sinker because guys hit mistakes here. So you got to be consistent with that, and then also being consistent with the slider.
And then the last one's from Alden Gonzalez. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave, I just wanted to follow up on a response that you gave earlier. You said that after you guys were swept in San Diego and then no hit here against the Cubs, you could just sort of feel something with the group. I'm wondering if you could kind of just pinpoint what that was. What was it that you maybe sensed from your team then that I guess gave you encouragement?
I think embarrassment, probably, if I could sum it up in one word. No one likes to lose, but to lose 3 on the road to a division rival and then to come home and get swept, that doesn't make anyone feel good. And I think the word embarrassment probably sums it up.